Good evening and thank you for joining us for KREM 2 News at 5 tonight. I'm Mark Hanrahan.
It's good to have you here. I'm Whitney Ward. We begin now with new developments in the case against Brian Coburger. He's the man accused of murdering 4 University of Idaho students last year.
The Latah County prosecutor says Coburger must waive his right to a speedy trial if he wants to put proceedings on pause. This comes after the judge in the case put a 37-day stay on proceedings so the defense could review grand jury documents. The trial is set for October 2nd. Right now, under Idaho law, the defendant's trial must begin within 6 months of their arraignment unless they waive their right to a speedy trial. If there is a delay, prosecutors argue it is possible Coburger could later say he was not brought to trial in a speedy manner and the entire case could be thrown out. They are now asking the judge to reconsider that 37-day pause. Coburger's next hearing is set for August 2nd. In other news, the Bonner County Sheriff's Office is asking for the public's help to find a missing woman.
So take a look at your screen right now. This is 27-year-old Shelby O'Lear. She was reported missing by family and was last in contact with them on Friday the 14th. O'Lear is described as having black hair and hazel eyes. Take a look. If you have any information about where she may be, you're asked to please contact the Bonner County Sheriff's Office, and we do have that number right there at the bottom of your screen.
Also new tonight, we have learned the person seen on video chasing a moose with a truck may face charges. That chase happened along the Coeur d'Alene River in North Idaho back in early June. The Idaho Fish and Game has recommended the Shoshone County Prosecutor's Office for the driver of that truck. We are waiting to confirm the driver's name and if the county prosecutor will officially press charges.
Tonight, we are learning more about a potential serial killer hunting in the Pacific Northwest. In Portland, police have now identified a person of interest in the deaths of 4 women. These are the 4 victims, none older than 31, who all went missing and turned up dead in rural areas around Portland over the last 8 months. The 4 bodies were all found within 100 miles of each other. Investigators and prosecutors from 9 different law enforcement agencies have now agreed their deaths are connected. So a person of interest, 38-year-old Jesse Calhoun, is now in custody, but on unrelated charges. He has not been charged with murder, and it's not clear how he may be connected to those deaths. However, Calhoun does have a criminal history dating back to 2003 and would have actually been behind bars at the time of these murders, but he was granted clemency in March of 2021, and that was because of his work on inmate crews fighting wildfires. Now, New York Times bestselling author and daughter of serial killer BTK is weighing in on the news, saying more investigation needs to be done into Calhoun's past.
He's probably not a first-time offender. You just don't start doing this all of a sudden. Whatever it is that he's done, you got to go back anytime he wasn't in prison, and like there's a lot of work there.
So it was about 2 years after Calhoun got out of prison that the women's bodies were discovered. For now, he is back behind bars with his commutation status revoked as authorities continue investigating those women's deaths.
2 major developments today in the legal saga against former President Donald Trump. This morning, a pretrial hearing was held in a federal classified documents case against Trump. And then word came the Justice Department may be close to indicting him on new charges in his efforts to overturn the 2020 presidential election. The former president, Donald Trump, posted that he received a letter informing him that he is a target of a new Justice Department investigation into his actions leading up to the January 6th riot. The letter usually informs the target that he or she has a right to appear before the grand jury. Today, Republican allies of Trump called the move politically motivated.
If you notice recently, President Trump went up in the polls and was actually surpassing President Biden for re-election. So what do they do now? Weaponize government to go after their #1 opponent.
Just last month, Mr. Trump pleaded not guilty to 37 criminal counts, including the willful retention of national defense secrets, making false statements, and conspiracy to obstruct justice for his handling of classified documents at his Mar-a-Lago estate. This all comes as the Georgia Supreme Court just denied Trump's request to stop a grand jury from reviewing evidence against him for alleged misconduct in the wake of the 2020 presidential election.
All right, taking a quick break from the headlines and talking weather now. Today, the last semi-cool day before the actual heat returns. We are joined now by our chief meteorologist, Jeremy Legoo.
Well, Whitney, it's one of those ones where, yeah, we know the heat's on the way, but now forecasts are starting to suggest we might get something else in addition to some of that warm weather. Right now, things aren't looking too bad. 82 here in Spokane, 81 over in Coeur d'Alene. Mid to upper 80s out in central Washington and down across, I would say, Lewiston, Pullman, Moscow. You're pretty close to 80. This is a wonderful day. In my mind, doesn't get much better than this, but you're hard pressed to find a cloud. You got to zoom pretty far out to find anything on the radar. And if you zoom out far enough, you have two storms, and we are sandwiched between those two, and those two storms tell a very interesting story. We'll talk more about that story coming up in the full forecast, but for now, let's talk temperatures. 92 on Wednesday, 97 on Thursday, and then 96 on Friday. Get this, 97 is the warmest we've been so far this year. We've done it twice. If we do it Thursday, it'd be the third time, but it is possible we could see our warmest temperatures of the entire year in just a couple of days.
All right, Jeremy, thank you very much. And as wildfires rage in Canada, air quality remains a concern. So far, eastern Washington and North Idaho have been mostly spared from the haze this year.
However, the East Coast right now is being covered in smoke and millions are under air quality alerts. CBS's Natalie Brand takes a look now at what goes into those daily alerts.
A thick haze is once again blanketing U.S. landmarks from the nation's capital to the Badlands in South Dakota. Smoke from Canada's wildfires is wreaking havoc on U.S. air quality.
You kind of get the perfect storm sometime where you get a big fire and you get the wind blowing right over that and bringing that smoke downwind.
Chet Wayland is the director of the EPA's Air Quality Assessment Division, which runs airnow.gov, posting color-coded alerts for each zip code.
The states send the data to us. We process the data in real time.
Data is collected hourly from thousands of monitoring sites nationwide, like this one in Washington, D.C. Based on Tuesday's readings, the EPA estimates more than 60 million people are facing forecasts considered unhealthy for sensitive groups. Health experts warn that tiny pollutants can be harmful.
It's small, it penetrates deep into the lungs, and that affects your health overall.
Are we going to be dealing with this until the fires are out?
We will probably have some impact from this ongoing as long as the fires are burning.
U.S. firefighters are helping on the front lines of Canada's worst fire season with specialized hotshot teams and smoke jumpers. Around 2,000 federal firefighters have been deployed in rotations since May. Natalie Brand, CBS News, Washington.